everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, Growing Your Law Practice with Gary Mitchell. I'm Fei Shen, Marketing Coordinator at LexisNexis Canada. A few housekeeping notes before we start. We have received a tremendous response to this webinar, and we are hosting a large audience. So, A, if you experience a technical difficulty, we will suggest you simply exit the meeting and re-enter it with the link provided. So rest assured that LexisNexis will distribute a recording of the webinar in a timely manner. If you would like to submit a question today, please do so by using the chat box. Now let me introduce our today's guest speaker, Gary Mitchell, the founder of the On Track Coach, anchored in nearly 30 years of the real-world experience as a communications professional, political strategist, and entrepreneur. Gary is a Canadian lawyer coach pioneer. He has tailored his coach practice exclusively to the lawyers since 2005, accumulating tremendous industry knowledge and insights. So let us welcome Gary.
Hi, Faye. Thank you. Great to be with you today. I'm going to be using some tips from my newest book, Growing a Law Practice During COVID-19. If you think of questions, please enter them as we go along. Faye's going to manage that, and we'll get to all of them at the end. But enter them as they come to you, so you don't forget, and we'll get to that. It's kind of a book launch, coaching session, webinar, all kind of wrapped up in one. So I want you to get the most out of this. So please do ask your questions, and we'll get to as many of them as we can at the end. I'm going to start with a few tips on creating your ultimate mindset, which is from chapter 1 of the book. I'm going to talk a little bit about self-care, which is from chapter 2 of the book. And then we'll get into the meat of the business of law, marketing during COVID-19 and business development during COVID-19. And then I'm going to go over the chapters of the book and let you know what the content is for each chapter. And with that, Faye?
That's great. Yeah, there is a one thing actually I'm curious about is what motivated you to write this growing a law practice during the COVID-19 book?
Well, Faye, it's a good question. And what really motivated me was some of the clients I got to work with last year, pre-COVID, as COVID hit, and just after we went into lockdown, and through the rest of 2020 going into 2021. If you buy the book, you'll see in chapter 12 some of their stories. They're quite incredible. The courage and dedication and drive and discipline that some of these lawyers had last year when nobody knew what was going on. It was crazy times, as you all know. And they persevered, they moved forward, they achieved amazing things during one of the most disruptive periods of modern history. And so I felt I wanted to take that story, that drive, and some of their courageousness, and build the story and the business around the business of law and growing a practice to help other lawyers navigate through COVID-19.
That's really great. I believe not only lawyers is helpful, like all the legal professionals will helpful, like especially with some paralegals and lawyers. They started a business during the COVID, right? They're not so sure what to do. I think your book will and then with this webinar, I look forward to hear more tips.
Well, certainly paralegals can learn just as well as the lawyers can, for sure. Okay, well, why don't we dive right into it. Chapter 1 of the book is getting into the ultimate mindset. And I feel this is really important to set you off for success. Okay, before we look at the business of law and the nitty-gritty of marketing and business development, I firmly believe it starts with the mindset. And I think I've always maintained this, that begins with attitude. I really, truly believe attitude accounts for about 95% of everything. It's more important than your experience. In my opinion, it's more important than your education, because with a great attitude, you will do what it takes. You will learn what you need to learn. You will put the work into it, and you will do what it takes to do whatever you need to grow your practice, to build your career. I'll never forget early on, like it must have been 13, 14 years ago. It was within a year or two of getting started in this profession, coaching lawyers. And I read this article about a top tier US law firm and their recruitment strategy. And they had an interesting approach. They ignored the top tier law schools in the United States. They bypassed them. They went right to the second tier law schools, which, I mean, in the United States, second tier law schools are still pretty amazing. And they also bypassed the A students. They only looked at B students. So let's recap. They looked at second tier law schools and they looked at B students. And their reasoning was, more often than not, those students, the B students at second tier law schools, were actually working full time to put themselves through law school. And what this showed was work ethic, dedication, drive, and attitude. And it turns out this was a very successful recruiting practice, because these students ended up becoming some of the best lawyers at these firms. It struck me because I've always believed it really begins with attitude. Now, a couple of tips I want to share with you that are actually in the chapter. One, it's really about getting to the start line, right? And you'll know this, you procrastinate, you're lawyers. I talk about personality traits in chapter 1 as well, and procrastination is one of them. But as soon as you get to the starting line, that's the hardest part. I kind of liken it to going to the gym. Once you get out the door or go down the elevator, if you're in a condo, whatever the case may be, once you actually get to the gym, the hardest part's over. You lift that first weight or you get on a cardio machine, it's easy peasy. It's getting to the start line. So that's part of the focus of the mindset. Also, smaller chunks. When humans, not just lawyers or paralegals, when we look at a big project, a big undertaking, and we look at the whole thing all at once, it's completely overwhelming. So I help my clients break things down into smaller chunks. I'm not sure of the quote. You've probably heard it. I'm paraphrasing. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, something like that. I'm probably screwing it up. I apologize. But the point is, take things in smaller chunks, and one at a time. And before you know it, you've conquered the big project, the larger scale event or challenge. Now, some participation. In a minute, I'm going to mention a word. And I want you to clear your mind right now of any thoughts. And I want you to think, and you're going to type into the chat box the first thing that comes to mind when I say the word Nike.
Swoosh shoes, action, running shoes, Jordans, running shoes, Michael Jordan, Jordan. There is like first one comes like a swoosh, sneakers, brand. Okay.
Okay, I can
Yeah.
see. I can't see the chat. I can't see the chat, but I can see there's a fair amount of people that participated.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, winged victory.
Okay, how about this? Just do it. Nike, just do it. Don't talk yourself out of it. You're not opposing counsel for yourself. How many times have I been working with clients and you're talking yourself out of something before you even get started? So I've always said this one word with clients from the very beginning: Nike. Just do it. Don't overthink it. I know that's a challenge. Don't overthink it. Just do it. Get to the starting line and get started with something. Okay, the process. It is a process. You weren't taught business in law school. Most of you, even at larger firms, have not been given the tools or training for the business side of the law. Your personality traits favor everything for the practice of law, which is good because that's what your clients hire you for. So there's some challenges to overcome. You have to understand and give yourself time. It is a process, and with any process, it takes time. So don't beat yourself up. I know, easier said than done. But as you go through this process, you're not only breaking down old bad habits, but you're creating new habits. It's all about habits, and it takes time. You have to give yourself the time. Lifting the weights. I'm a fan, as you'll begin to see throughout this webinar, and if you buy the book and read it, I'm a fan of using short, very tight words to describe something. Lift the weights means do the work, right? No one else can do the work for you, right? You can read the book, you can take the advice, you can, because there's advice everywhere. But you have to do the work. And as I say to my clients, you have to lift the weights. Like going to the gym with a trainer. The trainer can show you, make sure you're doing everything properly. You're not going to hurt yourself, encourage you, give you accountability factor, but they don't lift the weights for you. Otherwise, there's no point. You have to lift the weights. A couple of things I want you to be aware to avoid. Pitfalls that are common that I've seen over the years as you engage in growing your practice and more on the business of law rather than the practice of law. One, there is no easy button. Thank you very much, Staples. Yeah, no, there is no easy button. There's no magic pill. Although the weight loss industry would love you to believe there is because they make billions of dollars off of selling you pills so that you instantly lose weight. It doesn't happen. You have to lift the weights. You have to do the work. You have to give yourself the time. Okay. Another thing that I find very interesting, you're very intelligent people. And a lot of people will think that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Let me ask you this, and you don't have to type into the chat box or anything. Just think about it for yourself for a minute. When you think of an Olympian getting on that podium, do you think they got there on their own? Okay, if you're not into sports, what about your favorite singer-songwriter or actor? Did they get on that stage accepting that award all by themselves? No. Realizing you need help and asking for help is a sign of strength, because it goes back to the very beginning of this part and segment about attitude. It shows that you are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed and get to the next level. And if that means getting help, that means getting help. We all need help. Self-care. When's the last time you heard self-care and lawyers in the same sentence? Maybe never. I don't know. But I will say, what we're going through right now, what we've been going through for 14 months, and we're going to be going through it for some time. Who knows how long and what it's going to look like, but we're not through it yet. There's never been a more important time for you to take care of yourself first. Before your kids, before your partner, before your clients, before everyone else, all the demands on you every day, you need to take care of yourself first. You know, I'll never forget the first time I was on an airplane. I was 18 years old, quite excited, after high school, and I was to embark on a trip around the world with a youth group. And I was on the plane for the first time, so excited. And the flight attendants were doing their emergency presentation. And when they came about to say, put your mask on first. If the oxygen mask falls from above, put your mask on first before you help the elderly person or the infant. I kid you not, while the flight attendant was putting this or giving this presentation, I could see with an eye shot, I could see an elderly person and I could see an infant. And immediately I thought to myself, well, isn't that selfish? Like, shouldn't I take care of them first? They need help. I'm healthy. I'm able. Well, I was 18. Years later, a lot more life and business behind me. I get it. If you can't breathe, you're not much help to anyone else. Well, stretching it out, this is why I came up with the title for the second chapter called Put Your Mask On First. You need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And maybe you're scratching this, maybe you're just getting by. And that's probably what most people have been doing for the last year or so. But what if you could do better? What if you could take better care of yourself? Then you could probably take better care of those around you that you care most about, your family, your friends, your clients. So I've got a couple of quick tips to share with you. The first, and it may seem obvious, but it's also a very personal story for me. Watch minimal news. I think that should be the mantra in normal times, let alone what we've been going through right now. There's negativity all around us. I mean, just, the news, the media feeds off of devastation and all this. It's not good for our psyche. Whether you believe it or not, whether you understand it or not, you are absorbing that negativity whenever you're watching the news and you see the stuff going on all over the world. On a personal note, January of 2020, before COVID was really anything serious here in North America, I made a mental decision to cut my cable. Now, you got to know that being so politically active since I was 9 years old, this was a big deal, right? Like, being politically active, I'm watching the news all the time, especially what's gone on in the last few years. And I just knew, though, that I wasn't doing myself any favors. Like, I was taking on things that I had no control over that really didn't affect my life directly. It was all negative. So I cut cable. Little did I know what was around the corner, but I immediately felt like 100 pounds off my shoulders. I felt the relief of not taking things on that I couldn't do anything about. Fast forward to the last fall, 2020. I'm out with my dog and I see a neighbor and I ask him, how's he doing? Checking in. He said, oh, I'm having a tough time. I'm struggling. Well, the first question I asked him was, how much news are you watching? And he said with a roll of the eyes, probably too much. And I shared my own story. And I know that I am not the norm with how much news I was watching. I mean, I went from glued to it whenever I wasn't working. Even at the gym, I was watching news. That's how bad it was, to nothing at all. Well, within reason, mostly just Canadian news. And I just shared that with him. And I did see him a few months later and he took my advice and he agreed. It just lifted a whole bunch of stress off. On that note, any and all other negativity, and that may include friends or some family. Right now, you really need to put this barrier up around yourself and protect yourself around negativity. Mental health experts have been saying this for over the year. This is Mental Health Month, I believe, right, Faye? This is a time to take care of yourself more than any other time. A couple of other tips that I found not wise, but valuable in unlocking and lifting your spirit. Reconnect with your creativity. How do I know you have creativity? Because every single client I've ever worked with in 15 years has some creativity. I have clients that are screenwriters, the novelists, painters, singers, you name it. They play musical instruments. For me, it's singing. I love writing, obviously. This is my third book, but for non-business, non-work, non-anything, just creative, pure creative, it's singing. And it lifts you up, it lifts your spirit up, and it keeps you in a better frame of mind. Starting your day with positivity. This is critical. I swear by it. I do it every day, even weekends. I do it every day. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a work day or whatever. Every day by positivity. I'm going to get personal here too. I'm going to tell you exactly what I do for the first few minutes of every morning. I start with gratitude. I look at my life and all the things I am grateful for on a daily basis. And I say it out loud. And I say thank you for whatever it is. I follow that up with affirmations. Affirmations are really about calling things into your life that you want and reaffirming and just basically sending that message out there about what you want in your life. And then I follow that up with reviewing my goals. Big picture goals. And it's like when I work with my clients, I always start big picture. What's the big picture first? And then what's now? Like, what's the next year? What's the next few months? So I do that every morning. Whatever it is you can do for the first few minutes when you get up, have your coffee, warm up your brain. That's the way my brain works. I need a few minutes to warm up the brain. Me time, you time. Now, for those of you who are caregivers and you have young children at home, the solution's very simple, and it comes from my clients. It wasn't me, because I don't have children. You get up a little bit earlier. And they've told me over the years, or over the last year especially, it's worth it just to get up maybe 15 minutes earlier, to have that me time before you even look at anything work-wise, right? And you do it every day. And it sets you up, it sets your day up with positivity. Another tip I'd like you to think about, and you can start it right now. You can actually start it right now. I call it the COVID bank. It's in the book, more detail in the book. Make a list of all the things you're going to do when we're out of this, when we're freed up. When I say when we're out of this, what I mean is when restrictions have been lifted, when we are more freed up to travel, to dine, to do the things that we normally took for granted before COVID-19 hit. Who are the people you're going to go and see? Where's the first place you're going to travel to? What restaurant are you going to hit first? Get specific. I call it the COVID bank. And it just basically gives you something to look forward to when we're out of this. A number of things to look forward to when we're out of this. You know, it's kind of like delayed gratification. We're in this, North America, I can't speak for the world, but North America, our culture is really all about now, 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 now. And COVID took that away from us. COVID forced us to delay our gratification on a number of levels. Probably one of the benefits of COVID-19, in my opinion, because I don't think we should be always now, 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 now. Anyway, COVID bank, make a list of all the things you're going to do, all the people you're going to see, where you're going to travel, where you're going to eat, what you're going to do when we're out of this. Keep that list close. Okay, so just a couple of things to set you up for mindset. Now let's get into the meat of the business of law. So what is marketing in a nutshell? Marketing is relationship building. It's relationship building, nurturing, reminding with your overall target market or audience. That's why I have the crowd here. So that's why, you know, McDonald's and Coca-Cola spend millions of dollars a year to remind you how much you need a Big Mac. In case you forgot during the course of your day that you really need a Big Mac or you really need a Coca-Cola. So that's advertising. It's one facet of marketing. But overall, marketing is the relationship between you and the target audience. I'll talk about business development in a minute. The core of that really hasn't changed. because of COVID-19. We're still talking about advertising, blogging, hosting workshops, although not in person now, more like this, digital or virtual, a couple of tweaks. The core of marketing has not changed during COVID-19, and it won't, because what you're doing, what you're aiming to do is the same, okay? Now, again, here's a chat moment. I want you to think about this for a minute. Simple yes or no question. How many of you have extra time on your hands? Yes or no? Let Faye know.
Many no's. I haven't see yes yet. Oh, one yes, two yes.
Wow, those people are lucky. Very early on, working with lawyers, it became very apparent that time is one of your biggest challenges. Finding it, managing it, leveraging it, everything to do with time. So I basically came up with a methodology for business development and marketing, and it's called TST. Now, I go into great detail in the book about what this means, but in a nutshell, TST stands for targeted, strategic, and tactical. And it's designed to help you get maximum results in the minimal amount of time invested. So it's really focusing in on making sure you're in front of the right people, doing and saying the right things. So if you picture this crowd, instead of taking a megaphone and like shouting out to the whole crowd in a non-strategic, non-focused way, I help my clients get really focused and really targeted in their approach, so that whatever time you have, whatever time you are investing in business development and marketing, you're going to see results. And again, more about that in the book. Now, interestingly, I read an article probably about 8 months ago, kind of right in the middle of the last 14 months of COVID. And this was a legal marketing professional. This was like some blog or something, I can't remember where. And this person suggested that lawyers shouldn't be engaged in any outside marketing or business development during this time. You should just be focused on your client relationships. Well, I completely agree. You should always be focused on your client relationships. I also completely disagree with the statement that you shouldn't be doing any outside marketing or business development. Buy the book, read chapter 12, read the stories of the clients who persevered and moved forward last year, and ask them now how farther ahead they are because they did move forward during COVID-19 and they didn't wait. What are we waiting for? We don't even know what we're waiting for because we don't know what this looks like whenever we're out of it. Whatever that looks like, no one can tell you, right? There's no playbook here. So why would you wait? Your competitors are going to be waiting. Here's the opportunity. I always believe crisis equals opportunity. And because lawyers are risk averse at the highest scale of humanity, most of your competitors are going to sit on their hands or bury their heads in the sand. That means opportunity for you. Even small steps, small incremental steps moving forward with your marketing and business development efforts will produce greater results because your competitors are sitting on their hands. How do I know this? Because I know lawyers and I know the industry and I talk to people every day and I see it every day. So there's tons of opportunity. Don't wait. Wait for what? We don't even know what we're waiting for. Okay, business development. What is business development? Well, very much like marketing, business development is all about relationships, but it's the one-on-one, right? Well, marketing is the relationship you build with the overall market or audience that you're looking to attract, whether that be business or personal, if you're a more retail law. Business development is the one-to-one interaction, the relationships. Now, this has been widely affected by COVID-19, as you're acutely aware, right? The face-to-face, that was almost completely wiped out, and social media was there before COVID, and Zoom was there before COVID, but they've become more prominent now in our daily life, as you know, and business development has moved towards more virtual and more digital. Will it go back? That's a question that I am willing to predict. Will it go back to the way it was 100%? No, because nothing ever goes back to the way it was 100% after such a major disruptive event. And that, I'm a student of history, among other things, business history. Whenever we've had such an incredibly disruptive event in human history, we never go back 100% to the way we were doing things before. We've already moved forward. We've learned how to work from home. We've learned new technology. We've learned that the sky doesn't fall from having people work remotely, right? We're not going back. So embrace this. Embrace this new reality. Yes, we will get to a point where you will have some face-to-face. It's going to be awesome, right? Take a client out for lunch. It'll probably be like the best thing since sliced bread, right? Because we were deprived of it for so long. But the new technology, the new approaches for business development, they're not going away. They're not going away. And remember, the core of what business development is has not changed because of COVID-19. It's the relationship building, right? And again, I go back to the TST, the targeted, strategic, and tactical. It's the same thing with your business development, making sure whatever time you're investing. I mean, lawyers are always asking me, how much time should I spend? Like, I want minutes, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I always laugh at that. I can't tell you, I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. What I will prescribe is the habit. Whether it's 2 minutes or 20 minutes, do it every day. That's what I will stand by. And over time, and of course, because of the ebb and flow of your practice, you can't commit to 20 minutes or a half an hour every single day because your workflow goes up and down, right? 1 week you're crazy busy, and then the next week you've got time on your hands. Like those 2 people out of everyone who said they have time on their hands. I've actually never heard of a lawyer have time on their hands. But anyway, I'd like to know what practice area you're in, by the way. You should reach out to me by email. I'd be very curious. Anyway, the point is that we're not going to go back to everything the way things were before. We never do. All you have to do is look at history. I'm not some fortune teller, okay? I just know history. I read history. Okay, so I'd like to spend a few moments now talking about the book and its content. I've given you a couple of tips from chapter 1, The Ultimate Mindset. I've given you a couple of tips from chapter 2, Self-Care. Put your own mask on first. Chapter 3 is about practice management and includes some of your favorite topics like docketing, docketing, time management, organization. When I got started coaching, it was all about business development. It was just very focused on getting more clients. And over the years, working with large firms and solo practice and startups and everything in between, I've learned a lot more, and I now include practice management in my business coaching program. Because if you don't have time to do business development or marketing, you're not going to do it. So I help you find the time by getting more organized and more focused. Chapter 4, client service. You'll see a pattern here. The first 4 chapters have nothing directly to do with the business of law, but they have everything to do with you and building a solid foundation, so that by the time we get to chapter 5, which is diving into your business plan and looking at the business of law, you've got the basics taken care of. You're in the right mindset. you're taking care of yourself, you're organized and using your time most wisely, and you're very focused on your clients and great service. So now you take a look at how do you grow from here, business plan. Chapter 6 is marketing. Chapter 7 is business development. And of course, I go into much greater detail than I've given a couple of tips today. I go through all the marketing tactics and all the business development tactics, specifically with strategies for each one, proven strategies that will help you grow your practice. Chapter 8 is HR and higher profitability. If you follow the advice from the previous chapters on marketing and business development, you're going to grow, okay? And whether you're a solo practice and you only have one assistant, or you're growing a small firm, the HR component is huge. Building a strong team around you is paramount to your success, whatever you're growing, whatever you're building. Chapter 9 goes hand in hand. It's effective leadership. How do you become the best possible leader as you grow whatever you're growing? Your solo practice or a firm or something in between. Chapter 10 is major transitions during COVID. And I certainly had experience last year working with a number of clients who were in major transitions. And those transitions include changing firms. They can include changing practice areas because the market challenges and changes that COVID-19 brought about. As you are aware, some practice areas took off, like employment and family law. Some practice areas tanked, like M&A, right? This is normal in a turnaround economy, but this was like, I don't know, 100-fold because of COVID-19. So these are major transitions, and a lot of lawyers have had to look at their practice and get real and realize in the next couple of years, they're going to have to make some changes. So that's covered, and also growing from solo practice to law firm. If you're growing, that's another transition that's covered as well in chapter 10. Chapter 11 is kind of a bonus chapter. It's not really about growth. It's more about the end of your career. It's succession planning and your retirement. And I actually really encourage clients from startup to think about the end game right from the beginning, because there are ways you can increase the value of the firm and your brand right out of the gate and do things at the beginning that will save you time and money in the middle or towards the end. Then chapter 12, probably my favorite chapter. I didn't write it. It's all clients. It's their stories. It's called In Their Own Words. And there's some amazing stories of clients making changes and moving forward and taking the courage and discipline to take more control over their career and their practice or their firm. As COVID hit in March 2020 and through the months that followed into 2021. Again, that's my favorite chapter. That's client stories.
Thank you, Gary. This book, it's a very thorough book. And first, you prepare the legal professional to have a mindset ready and taking care of their mental health. So they get get ready and then geared up and learning the knowledge of marketing and business development, HR, practice management, all that thing, and lead their success. That's a very, very thorough book. That's wonderful. This is your a third book, like you wrote like Ring Dance and Ring Dance 2. And what is it special about this book? What's the difference about this book?
Well, you've actually just, Faye, I think you just hit it. It's the most thorough and holistic approach I've personally written about the business of law. And I'm not aware of any other work out there that includes the level of foundational, like mindset and self-care before we talk about business. So I think, and I have to say, I'm a bit proud of this work because it was challenging on a whole new level to encompass all these other things to help the client, like I was in the moment last year with the clients that were so courageous. doing these things. I mean, some of these things that they were doing in normal times are like, wow, right? For lawyers with risk aversity and the whole thing, and the chances people were taking and risk and all this. But in COVID, when nobody knew what was going on, it's amazing. So I have to say that it's the most holistic approach to growing a law practice. And you can take the formula for growing a firm. It doesn't matter which practice area you're in. It doesn't matter where you live geographically. It's applicable to all lawyers who are looking to grow, who are or looking to do things differently, and maybe have more life balance. Let me just take a couple of moments to close here. Something motivated you all to jump on this webinar today. At least one thing, maybe a couple of things. I don't know. But something motivated you to come onto this webinar today. I encourage you to listen to that voice, to keep listening to that voice, whatever motivated you. I think I brought it up earlier under marketing, but when we get out of this, whatever that looks like, again, who knows what that looks like? Do you want to be limping or leaping? It's your choice. Like, I never judge my clients. I'm not there to tell them what to do or what they should do or what they can do with their career or their life. I'm here to help. It's you that makes the decision on where you want to go. You have the opportunity, more so, I believe, 15 years in, I've been through the economic downturns of the recession in 2009. I've seen things turn around. But because of the nature of the disruption, because of the nature of most lawyers and your competitors, you have the opportunity like I've not seen before to get out in front of your competition. And here's another thing. The whole world has been turned upside down. People have been trained to expect the unexpected, to follow and do things that we never would have done before. Do you think people would have been working from home had COVID-19 not come along? People from law firms working from home? Oh, the sky would fall. No work would get done. Oh my God. But then COVID-19 came around, boom. So we've been forced, and this is an opportunity. We've been forced to look at things different. We've been forced to be open. This means that you can do things differently. You can work with your clients differently. You can take new approaches. You can take a little bit of risk, and it will pay off in spades. So let this webinar, and especially this book, serve as a calling to try new things, to do things differently, to take a little bit of risk, to not be so afraid of making a mistake here and there on your way to creating your most incredible career and law practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gary. Yes, we can do. Now we are entering the Q&A session, so you can put your questions in the chat box. But there is actually a couple of pre-submitted questions. And Gary, there's one question, you definitely could use your marketing expertise to help. So regarding the core of marketing. This individual said he just this legal professional just started their paralegal practice, and then they've done advertising like signs, direct mail, and then put their name out on the legal directory, and then managed a certain part of a media relationship by connect with local politics and real estate agents, and do some social media, and also they extended their business hours. So the question for this legal professional is there anything else you can see they are not doing, or is it because of the COVID stay at home in Toronto that's hampering their start? Or we'll maybe try some ethnic newspaper next.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't blame it on COVID because things are moving forward. Things were in the original lockdown, nothing was going on, right? Like everybody was at home. Cars weren't on the road, people weren't in stores, people weren't in offices. It was absolutely locked down. But things are moving forward, so I wouldn't blame it on COVID. Those are all very standard marketing strategies that this person has employed. Very good. What about making a list of all the people you know, professionally and personally, and having conversations with them directly? Everything that you've been doing is marketing to reach out to people you don't know yet. Okay, so that takes time. That takes a lot of effort. And again, it takes time, money, effort. But what about all your contacts, your personal contacts, the people you know from school, that you went to school with, some of your friends, some of your neighbors, other professional contacts, lawyers, other accountants, other professionals? Make a list of everyone you know and start having conversations with them and make sure they know what you're doing. That's what I would start with.
Fantastic. That's a great idea. And then another one that like a pre-submit question was that professional is planning to opening their own business in a year or so. Do you have any suggestions?
Yes, actually, you can start. There's a whole bunch of stuff depending on where I'm going, and I'm answering the question blind because I don't know how long the person has been in. I'm assuming this is a lawyer.
They didn't provide the context. Just
Okay.
that person decided said that person will start the business soon.
Well, you know what? Without answering a question blindly too much, business plan. Start with a business plan. Like, what do you want to create? Set goals, timelines. That's where I would start.
That's great.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I had more context, I could probably give more specific advice, but I'm not going to give more specific advice without knowing more details of the background. But a business plan always start with a business plan.
That's yeah, and also, or if this is a person still here is our audience, and then they can send you an email, maybe
Yeah,
provide you some more context, right, for the advice.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. I saw Mubin Fozia, and then raised up the hand, so I unmute you. Would you like to ask a question? Let me see. Can I ask to unmute? Let me see if I can unmute. Promote. Seems like I cannot unmute you.
Well, ask them to type the question in the chat.
Yeah, maybe you type your question. That'll be great. Thank you. Okay, there is a question says, what's the biggest challenge we'll face when opening our office during COVID? Some courts aren't hearing some matters. It's different for paralegal matters. Can you give advices for paralegal since our matters are smaller generally?
You know what? Uncharacteristically, I'm going to say no. I'm not going to be able to give you advice because I'm not as familiar with the paralegal workflow. So I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Oh, okay. So the other one was saying, how about the client's needs change? How do we align with their changes?
Again, I would love to know more context, but generally speaking, with clients, the thing is, and you can never do too much of it, is being in constant contact with them, and especially, this is one of the things I talk about under Chapter 4 of Client Service, is going above and beyond in communication, in staying regularly communicating with your clients to understand what is changing, why it's changing. The more you know about your clients, the better you are able to serve them. So that's a generic answer to that question without knowing more. Again, if you're just typing in questions, please be more specific. The more specific you are, the better advice I can give you.
Yes, so he wrote it back. He said context is he's managing a small business.
Who's managing a small business? The client?
The That's a good question. I think he is managing a small business.
The client. Okay. So one of the things I talk about is if it's possible, I don't know where this person lives. If it's possible, go and sit down on site with the client and find out everything you can about their business. If you can't do it in person, do it either by phone or Zoom. The bottom line is the more you know about their business, the entire picture, the more you're able to serve them. And one of the things I always talk about is go beyond the being the lawyer. Okay. The ultimate relationship you can, in business, in any kind of business law, the ultimate relationship you can build with your client is to go beyond the law and become a trusted advisor. And the way to do that is to fully understand everything you can about their business. And you do this off the clock. You don't charge for this. Okay, and actually, this is in the book. You go and meet with them either in person or do it over the phone virtually, and you sit down and you ask them questions and you get to see the big picture of what their business is, all the moving parts, and all the challenges. And the more you know about it, the better you are, not only from a legal point of view, because you're probably going to hear some things that you might be able to help your client become proactive in, right? But you're also going to be able to say, hey, listen, I know somebody who can take care of that. It's a non-legal issue, but I'm connected to other professionals. Let me introduce you to so-and-so. And that's a value add for your client.
That's great. So another audience says, for starting as a sole practitioner, what is the best way to market yourself starting off in personal injury law?
Again, I believe I mentioned this earlier to the person who's done all, I think it was paralegal, who's done all this marketing stuff. Make sure everybody you know knows what you're doing. So that means make a list of all your professional and personal contacts, okay? And make sure you pick up the phone, email, depending on the level of the relationship. Maybe some people require an actual in-person meeting if they're, you know, if the potential is there for business on that level. Take a personal approach, right? There's a million PI lawyers out there, not to diminish what you're doing. Get personal. Make sure people know, because at the end of the day, if there's a client and they're making a choice between two people, they're going to go with somebody they know and somebody they like. Well, there's only one way to get to be that person that somebody knows and somebody likes. That's to get in front of them or cultivate the relationships that you already have. Okay, so again, this is more the business development side, the one-on-one relationship building, than the marketing. You can do the advertising, you can do the website, you can do all of that, right? But it comes down to the one-on-one relationship building with people you know. And with PI, it's like referrals, right? Other lawyers in other practice areas, other professionals, you build your referral network, and that's the way to grow your practice.
That's great. Another audience said, during COVID, we have adapted and learned to service our clients through new and creative ways. Based on your experience, what are the best adaptations that will continue to benefit both lawyers and our clients post COVID? Has the business model for law changed?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. I'm going to do my best to answer because we're not post-COVID yet, and who knows what that's going to look like. But I will say one of the things that I've noticed, and it's obvious, working remotely and communicating regularly. That's something that has changed because of COVID. And I don't see it going backwards. Okay. I just, for the life of me, can't see that law office filled with people to the brim again. I still see people working from home. I still see people reaching out to clients remotely. And maybe because it's been remotely, maybe you're making more of an effort. Maybe you're doing more of it, which is good. I've always advocated for that, right? So I hope that answers the question. I think one thing that's going to stay is the virtual, is working more remotely and being in touch with clients more often.
That's great. I'll see, like it's almost at the time. Let me ask one more question. People submitted before, and they said, "What do you think is the most effective marketing strategy during the COVID-19?"
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, well, to be frank, let me just preface by saying that I not only think it's the best marketing strategy, I don't think it's the best marketing strategy just during COVID-19. I think it's the best marketing strategy out there, period. And that is educational marketing. So this is an example. This is exactly an example. Doing a webinar, presenting valuable information to your clients, their clients, your prospects, your contacts, your professional network. It goes on and on and on. So that's the presenting, writing, speaking, all of that. Now, here's the thing, having been a speaker and traveled like Europe and all over North America speaking, this is great. This is awesome. Sitting in my office in Vancouver, being able to communicate with anybody anywhere in the world without getting on a plane, without jet lag, without sitting in some stifled hotel is awesome. So take advantage of it. We're trained now, right? We're doing more of this. Again, I don't think we're going back. And I think it's the most effective strategy for lawyers or anyone in professional services. Demonstrate your expertise, give away some valuable information, and leverage that opportunity of educating your target market to build more relationships. Let me give you one very highly specific example. So you present to your clients, and then you offer to present to their clients. So what you do, first of all, is that's a value add to your client. You're helping them look good to their clients because you're coming in and you're giving them something, right? That's on the one side. But on the other side is you're getting in front of that whole group of new people. You're getting in front of them and have the opportunity of building relationships with them. So it keeps going and going and going and going, and then repurpose all of your content. So from your presentation, write an article or do a blog, do something on LinkedIn, repurpose everything. And that is now, and that is forever. That is during COVID, and that is post-COVID, and that is forever and ever.
That sounds wonderful. Yeah, that it's almost. I said, oh, just at 2 o'clock. That's great, but I need everybody 1 minute. So at first, thank you so much for joining us today. And then Gary Mitchell's new book, "Growing a Law Practice During COVID-19," is going to publish in July. And you can get a copy on LexisNexis bookstore. But I need 1 more minute. Is if you could provide your feedback on our survey, and the survey link has been put on the chat box. Provide your feedback so that it's important to us, so that we know how we can improve and we innovate. And thank you so much, everybody, and then have a wonderful afternoon. And with the people that's still online, this is Gary's email, and we also will send Gary's contact info via our thank you email. So if you have any more questions, you can email him.
Thanks, Faye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.